Good morning, everybody. This is Diggs. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest, and today we're going to be talking about Path to Nowhere, what it gets right, what it gets wrong. Let's go ahead and dig in. So, I do want to talk about some of the positives first in this game. And first off, I do think it is a fun game. I think combining the idea of a tactics game as well as a tower defense game is a very good idea. I love the voice acting. I think the voice acting is phenomenal in this game. I would say this is probably one of the best examples of English voice acting and translation I've ever seen in a mobile game. It's actually worth listening to in English. And I know most people just switch to Japanese or Chinese or Korean, but definitely give it a go because the story is really good and you can tell that the actors definitely put some work behind it. What's interesting is that you can also customize the language for each character. So if you wanted to do some thematic characters, or if you wanted to maybe customize them a little bit more, you can absolutely do that. Another thing I think a lot of people care about, at least I particularly care about, is the capability to play on PC. Now, it does play pretty flawlessly on BlueStacks Pi 64-bit, which is what I am using. There is no PC client though, so just keep that in mind. As we do go through, a couple of questions we're going to ask is it free to play friendly? And I think you could relatively play this game free to play, but I think you're going to run into a couple of walls. Particularly the first wall we're going to run into is re-rolling. Now, if you've seen other videos, you've probably heard there's actually re-roll punishment in this game. They are actively punishing accounts that are bound, that delete their account data and try and re-roll. So don't re-roll in this game, or go and find a very specific re-roll guide before you link your account, because it is designed pretty much to be very obnoxious. Now, I didn't find the need to re-roll in this game because I did find the beginning summons where you do get multiple S-ranked characters were good enough for me, but I could understand other people wanting to do so. And I have gotten, without spending any money on the game, probably at least 70 pulls, and that's within the first 3 hours of the game. The game itself does play very similar to Arknights, and I think if this game had one major drawback, it's that there are features that are very similar. You have features like building up your base in order to harvest passive materials, right? You have, for example, in-depth conversations that you can have with characters. You have friends lists, you have a guild. Like, even when you're looking at the map in the background and the style, it does feel like a almost inferior version to Arknights. And I don't want to say that it's inferior, because it is. Definitely have some great things about it, but I think a lot of people would just be tempted to go play Arknights just because it's an older game. It's going to be more free to play friendly. It's going to have more content in it. Now, when you are in the game, there is a couple of differences to Arknights where, you know, it kind of brings to life the, I would say, tactics-esque element of the game. So, for example, you can, let's just deploy our characters like this. When you're starting the match, you do get a set amount of moves. So if I wanted to move my character here, I could, for example, intercept early and have my character kind of tank up here, and then, oh, an enemy's getting through, we'll fall back. You do have a variety of active skills for different characters. You have a ability up here that enables you to, you know, pop one of your special abilities, whether it's going to be healing or damage or energy. But most of the game is focused around this type of gameplay, and you'll notice I don't move my characters around very much, and it definitely becomes more important to move the characters around later on. But it's just one of those mechanics where it feels like it's unneeded in this game. And what also feels like it's maybe unnecessarily needed or unnecessarily bad is the level design. And I'm going to assume it gets better here, but most of the levels are set up like this. You know, you are in a situation where you're going to be in a lane type style of mission, the enemies are going to be coming from right to left, and they only ever come from right to left. And you can't position your characters to face different directions. So, if you're playing as both a tower defense and a tactics-esque game, I would expect, for example, to be able to move my character. Let's take my archer, move my archer, and be able to turn her to shoot enemies to the south, turn her to shoot enemies behind her. All she can do, though, is shoot in front of her, right? You see there's an enemy right here further down the line. I can't turn her to attack this unit. I would have to move her back in order to attack it. So I'm actively hindered in kind of the strategic element of the game. They've taken that element away, but they've added the capability to move the characters around. And the level design itself feels like it has been designed for the characters to be able to face different directions. And so being unable to shift your character's direction is really awkward, because you will have situations where, for example, let's say there's a slot up here, you can face your character down, it looks like. You can put a character up here and face them down to kind of do like a ranged attack, right? Well, that doesn't happen because you can't do that with your character. So what's the point of having a spot up here? It's really bizarre. It's one of the more bizarre game decisions I've seen in a while. I don't really know what's going on here, and a lot of the levels are only 3x7 levels, and so it takes a lot of the strategic element out of it, because it just becomes a normal tower defense game. It just becomes place your units, block the enemy units that are coming from right to left. And so while it is fun and it's a unique mechanic, I can't say that it's particularly good for the game or good for the health of the game. And I think the level design itself as well doesn't lend any help to making the game better. So when I'm looking at things like gameplay, when I'm thinking about kind of long term, I feel like this game is, while fun, it's already launching with some key tactical problems that could have easily been fixed, that they did not fix or that they did not adjust. I also think it doesn't help that it's very Arknightsy. It doesn't help that it has the base building aspect that's very identical to Arknights. It doesn't help that there, is so many aspects like that that are just familiar. And you can tell they wanted to do something different. You can tell that it's, they tried to put their own flair on it, and you can definitely tell that in the story. The story is a lot different. It's really enjoyable. I really loved it. But the gameplay aspects and the gameplay loop are very similar to Arknights, and you're going to be spending a lot of time, for example, farming up green, farming up gold, right? You're going to be, of course, having your standard tower clear down here. You're going to be having your boss clear, your boss rushes up here. It's almost exactly what you would come to expect, except that it has the gimmick of moving your characters but not being able to angle them in any way, which means you're not going to be getting more complex levels, you're not going to be getting more complex design, and it kind of brings itself to a halt, and it really stops the complexity, it feels like, of the game. It feels like if you're going to hit a wall, there's not much you can do about it. You're really going to just need to pay more, grind more. There's very little strategic aspect. It's about basically solely having the right units in the right positions from the start. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this video wasn't too harsh. Again, I did enjoy my time with this game. I just don't think it's remarkable. I don't think it's the next Arknights, right? I think Arknights is objectively right now better than this. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys will have a great rest of your day.